Still reviewing that first year as superintendent of schools in Alamosa, Colorado. Now we're into the spring. The date on this paper is April 15th, 1970. And the heading reads, Parents Protest, Junior High Rumble. There have been reports of fighting at Monte Vista, maybe rumors of fighting in other schools, that this is the first time it really surfaced at Alamosa during my tenure there, and it was a serious thing. When it came to my attention from Mr. Beckley, the junior high principal, he said, "Doggone it," he said, "I've looked into it, and I really think that the problem is the cowboys, that they're asserting themselves as being the good people and looking down on the Mexican-American lineage kids. You know, a lot of those kids were third and fourth generation. They were not like this current thing where we're talking about people who just crossed over. We might have had a little handful of recent immigrants, but I don't remember any. The San Luis Valley was populated heavily, about maybe close to 50-50. Well, maybe more, it was 30-70, I don't know. But there were a lot of Mexican-American lineage kids, and business people, neighbors, board members, and so on. But anyway, when it, becomes a board matter and a newspaper article, the article says a group of concerned parents appeared at the regular board meeting to discuss the fighting going on last Thursday afternoon at the junior high school field, which resulted in one youth being hospitalized for internal injuries. That's got the subheading, Fighting. A spokesman for the parents wanted to know what was being done to prevent such outbursts in the future. Well, then they quote me and they quote Mr. Beckley, and we were just saying, it's kind of normal for young kids if they've got a lot of time and they had one of those open noon hours, which I think causes a lot of trouble. It gives kids too much time to get into trouble, and they could leave the campus, and that can create problems. It was suggested that a partial cause for this was the open noon hour, which allows students to be completely on their own. Children leave the school grounds, they're no longer the school's responsibility, and sometimes they get into typical boyhood fights behind Arapahoe and Safeway. And Principal James Beckley has taken some steps. But first he expressed his opinion that the outburst began between two boys who were feeling their oats, quote, feeling their oats on a spring day. And at first it was a typical friendly fight indulged in by boys from time immemorial. But this is quoting Jim Beckley. Then when it appeared one youngster was getting the better of the other, two onlookers jumped into the fray, and a completely new fight was initiated involving about 10 boys. Well, by the time the teachers arrived, the students were scattering, and one child was severely injured and had to be hospitalized. Well, I was able to express the opinion at that time that it was a junior high problem, and Mr. Beckley and I had conferred, and he had taken some strong steps with my full backing and probably encouragement. Mr. Beckley at a school assembly, I'm reading now, in an all-school assembly last Friday, Beckley announced that if youngsters became involved in a fight between the time they left home in the morning for school and the time they arrived home in the afternoon, and if this reached the attention of the administration, right or wrong, the youngsters involved would receive the old Board of Education upon their seats of learning. A good old-fashioned paddling. And they went ahead to quote the two of us as saying that we didn't really get too upset about kids fighting, because kids of that age, test each other, particularly boys, anymore, girls too, but in those days and on back, boys. But the trouble is that kids, quote, the trouble is kids no longer fight man to man, but in gangs, and youngsters are more likely to get hurt this way. Baiting is employed by both sides of the groups. Mr. Beckley's quoted, I think. No, he doesn't quote anybody, just says, problems are coming from all over the place. Weapons such as lead pipes and knives have been taken from the possession of boys around the grounds, but there is no evidence that such instruments have been employed in any fights. But my gosh, if you got those kind of weapons around, you know that sooner or later, if you don't get this thing under control, somebody will use one. So steps have been taken to ensure that fighting of this nature occurring on Thursday will not happen again. Lockers will be checked. Parents present gave their permission for school authorities to do so, and teachers will be used to police the grounds before and after school and during lunch. And the parents felt that teachers should be embodied with more authority and discipline youngsters. Suspension and expulsion will be employed when necessary. Well, doggone it. You don't want to see that kind of fighting. We were lucky. The boy that was hurt, I don't remember all the particulars, but I know it wasn't too serious, or I would be remembering. And that whole idea came out of being in Jefferson County with the policy they had there. That I guess I got it going clear back at Elkhart in my first superintendency. But I picked it up in my doctoral program. That if you get it clearly understood that if you're going to fight, you go home and tell your mother and dad, whoever is in the house, that you're going to go fight so-and-so. And you be sure the other boy gets home from school and tells his mother or dad that he's going to go fight so-and-so. And then it's a parental matter. It isn't any of the school's business. But if you get into a fight to or from school, the school is going to have to get into it because the public's going to hold the school accountable. We didn't have a lot more fighting at the junior high. So 3 cheers to Mr. Beckley, 3 cheers to the board, 3 cheers to those parents for the way it was handled.